Hello. Hello, I'm the Professor Cramulus. And Placid Dingo is visiting with me, and he has the stack of books that he found in my bathroom that he wants me to talk about. Alright, so here's a stack of books. Let's start with, here's the Principia Discordia Evangelical Edition. This is edited by Smeg the Kilted. This is somebody that hung out on the poe.co.uk forums, and he made this tiny little copy of the Principia. He wanted to make like the cheapest possible copy so he could get them bulk printed and hand them out. And so it's like this cute little like 4x6 inch version of the Principia. It's pretty sweet. What else? I've got these two printouts of the Principia Discordia, which I think is the first edition. I think I found these on the 23 AE appendix. They have like a lot of old scans of Discordian memorabilia. And
these are the ones that come from the content in the Kennedy archives that Carl Musser photocopied on behalf of John Swaby, who asked him to do so.
It's cool. I think that the old Principia Discordias are really interesting because there's a lot of stuff that got cut and a lot of stuff that I don't know. It's like interesting, like musing about why it got cut and how it didn't end up in the final product. I don't know. Interesting. All right. So next, this is the Black Iron Prison pamphlet. This is how to describe that. Okay. So in 2006, a bunch of Discordians on the PrincipiaDiscordia.com forums decided they wanted to what's next for Discordia? Like, we've got all these jokes that we've been repeating since like the 60s, and like, you know, well, what else is there? Like, if you strip out all like the humor, like, what's the message really? So they wrote the series of essays that all got put into this book called the Black Iron Prison Document, which you know, it's not meant to be like funny or silly like a lot of the other Discordian lit is, but it has some good stuff in there. What else to say about it?
That
Black Iron Prison.
sounds good.
All right. What else? Here is The Book of Chaos and Its Virtues by Vincent Verthain. Another pretty good piece of Erisiana. I like Vincent's stuff because he kind of comes to Discordia from a more, like, I don't know how to put it, like almost like a more traditional religious. That's not really fair. But he approaches Eris as a deity, I think, like with a little bit straighter face than a lot of people, and by running full force at it, I think he has some interesting thoughts. Even though it's not my Discordia, but I'm glad it's there, I guess. Book of Chaos and Its Virtue. Here's the hard copy, Principia Discordia. This was made by Synapticlips. I'm not sure where the cover art came from, but this is like, for your money, probably the best copy of the Principia because it's hardcover. It makes it seem really official, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you could really club somebody out with this thing. It's sharp. My book is like, it's so beat up. Like, I've got all these scratches and fazoo on it. Alright, then the classic, this is the Luke Mannix edition, the yellow cover, Principia Discordia. Famous. Alright, moving on. Here's the Apocrypha Discordia. This isn't the real cover. I made this myself when I was working somewhere really boring, doing like a retail job, and I just spent my time like reading Discordian stuff and stapling together things, and somehow I ended up with this like completely handmade book of the Apocrypha Discordia. It's not even like assembled really well. Like every other page is like upside down, and I don't know, it's a mess. It's a mess, but it's my mess. I mean, I think this is like one of the best ways to read Discordian lit is to like assemble it yourself and then like spill coffee on it or something. The main way, here's a pamphlet I wrote about the folklore that we've developed involving this street that I live on here in Tarrytown, New York. And the long and short of it is, you know, people use myths to explain their world. So we just made up all these sort of mythological stories about everyday things that happen around here. Like the guy we live upstairs is like a wizard. And, you know. so this was like kind of like a brief attempt to write it all down. Hey Jim, I actually don't remember a lot about this. I think this was.
I remember Hey Jim is it's the stuff that turned into the Spider Project.
Spider Project, yeah.
Which I think that's El Lemino putting the music to.
Right. Yeah.
A number of these different essays which riffed off the theme of spiders originally, and some different things. The sun was replaced with a box, and the spiders have this sort of interesting relationship with the humans. I really enjoy this one. And you can get that as a free PDF, I believe, from the 23AE blog.
Yeah, it's on there somewhere. Hey Jim. So it's like a collection of essays that were written by Discordians at the Principia Discordia forums. And then, I forget who laid this out. Roaring Biscuit, maybe? I don't remember. But somebody did an excellent job laying it out, and I can't remember who. Manta Obscure? No, I don't know. Probably says in here. Whatever. Alright. Moving right along, here's the Tao Te Ching. This is a another Discordian group project. Mainly myself and LMNO, but we had a lot of help from people at the Principia Discordia forums. We went through every chapter of the Tao Te Ching, which is kind of like the central book of Taoism, and rewrote it. In some cases totally casting it out, in some cases just sort of adapting it with a more Discordian point of view. You know, in a hope of not to just like translate the Tao Te Ching into Discordia, but to kind of come up with something new that kind of expressed I don't know, stuff that's in the border between Tao and Discordia. Is this your phone?
Yeah.
Whoop.
Let's leave it up for now.
Okay. That's the Tao Te Ching. And this is also, the PDF is online. I think we have books for sale too, but it's copy left, so you can read the whole thing on the net.
This one here, Hey Jim, it says graphics by Wondermaker and Junkan Hero. Or Junkan Hero.
That's the graphics, but the layout?
I don't know.
Alright, so Musings of a Faceless Man. This was really cool. This is by Roaring Biscuit? Yes. Who, it's like kind of falling apart in places. It's like a really cool handmade book. You know, one of the best things about hanging out with Discordians is you end up with this like cool like arts and crafts swap. Like he handmade this book. It's gorgeous. You know, and mailed it to me, and I'm really happy to have it. I think there's only like 12 or 13 of these. Again, I think the PDF is online. It's copy left, and it's kind of his reactions to reading the Principia Discordia and the Black Iron Prison, and you know what he can add to it. And it's really beautifully laid out. It has like the kind of feel of like an underground like magazine that somebody photocopied and passed you, which I guess is almost literally true. Intermittents presents The Fail Whale and Other Stories. This is Placid Dingo here, put together a compilation of Discordian fiction and essays and what have you.
I'm very excited to they'll get to me.
So let's see. So you edited it, I laid it out, and then we ended up with this cool little booklet, which again, there's no way to purchase this. You've got to print it out yourself and staple it on the side, and you'll end up with this nice little collection of fiction.
Fiction and prose and poetry and various genres.
Yeah, some poetry. That's cool. Zen Without Zen Masters by Camden Benares? Whatever, right?
Yes, I think.
Benares. The Count of Fives in the Principia. And he writes these little one-page little parables about Zen and Zenarchy. I really enjoyed finding this because it's like a very... I enjoyed it. I don't have a big story about it. But I think you can find the PDF of this online too. Somebody scanned it and put it on the net. Jonesboro Discordia by Pope Tim, which is... I wonder how many of these physical copies of this book exist, because this is another one you can find online. And it seems to me like Tim got like a lot of stuff from various sources and crammed it in there and hit print. So you've got like some pages from Liber Frou-Frou, which was like an internet book that somebody wrote a long time, not a long time ago, like 10 years ago. And I don't know, like it's funny, like I think I bought this, I don't remember, but I think I bought this because I was like just paging through the PDF and I found like an essay that I wrote and I was like, hey, all right, but that's cool. I guess I'll buy it. Yeah, so I have this like tome. It's very varied. Fortunately, all the graphics are very low resolution, but it's cool. More Discordiana is good. The Prankster and the Conspiracy by our man Adam Go Rightly. This is the biography of Carrie Thornley. He kind of follows Carrie's footprints and tries to explain shines a light on some of the more conspiracy end things of Carrie's life. Here's Carrie's book Zenarchy, which I think you can also find all this text online somewhere for free. But it's nice to have it in a physical copy.
This is one from Illuminate Press.
Yep. The Etc. Discordia was a very good book. So the story of the Etc. Discordia is a guy called 000, Peter, and I decided we wanted to write a Discordian book very, very quickly. So, like, just do like a really fast turnaround of let's just get a bunch of essays and let's turn it into a book and let's put it out there, because there's like, when you finish a project, there's like this burst of energy that like enthralls me for like a couple of weeks of like, oh, now I gotta start a bunch of things, but I have to like finish something before I get that burst. So the idea was to just do a really small project, and it never works out that way. You never say, I'm gonna do a small project and then it stays small. I don't know. So there was like so we set up an internet forum that was anonymous by nature. It was, don't use a name that you've used elsewhere on the net. Just come in like sort of in mask and post what you want us to put in this book. And the forum lasted 2 weeks. It was meant to be like a sort of like temporary anarchy zone. There's like you know, because everybody was anonymous, there was no time for like social hierarchy to form or group rules or anything like that. There was no, you know, it was all very like just about the ideas and not about the people that were posting the ideas, which I thought was really cool. So we laid it. So we got all these submissions for this book about, you know, what's Discordia in, I think it was 2010 or 2011 when we did this, and then a mysterious cloaked stranger laid it out and gave us the CD, and we've been printing it. So it's like part of like the Principia Discordia like really reflects that the time that it was made in. There's a lot of like stamps and like cut and paste work. Like it seems like something that was, you know, handmade. And so we kind of wanted to say like, all right, if the Principia was written in the 2010s, you know, what would it look like? And it, you know, like let's not. So we thought at first like maybe we should try to emulate the same style that we've got, like an essay and some marginalia and doodles and then stuff like that. But like that's when people made books by hand, you know. So the digital layout, like it's supposed to look like it has a lot of like contemporary internet jokes in it and stuff that like kind of definitely identifies it as like a period from its time. Like I think in one of these essays, it references Flickr.com. Go to Flickr.com and tag your postergasm stuff. And so it's, you know, I think it'll end up being kind of a dated book. What's cool about this copy is a friend of mine ordered it from the net, took it around to a bunch of conventions and pagan gatherings and gaming things, and just gave it to people and said, here, could you just vandalize this in whatever way you want? And so it's like full of like people like jammed stuff in here. Here's a Xenu wanted poster. There's like doodles on every page. This is like really the most flattering thing that somebody can do, I think, like, for your book, is to vandalize the hell out of it and make new stuff in there and react to it. That's a big big concept in the Etc. as well, as like, you know, you find these things in culture and you should use them. You know, like don't just be like somebody that consumes the information from culture. Like remix it and like do something with it, make it personally meaningful. So the Etc. encourages people, you know, rip the pages out, mark it up, staple them to trees, do whatever you want with it. It's not like, I don't intend this. I'd hope that people would have like a more hands-on relationship with this book. So the fact that people, you know, drew in it and did all these amazing things is really pretty cool. I love it. I think there's like, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's a little flip book at the top left. Somebody wrote, whatever. Okay.
That's the moon goddess, the Chica the cat.
Oh yeah.
Scratching my bag, but we'll let her do that.
Okay. The Dreaming magazine. Here's a magazine I wrote about a game that I wrote. This was a live-action role-playing game that I ran for like years in college and then rebooted for like about 3 or 4 months a couple years ago. So the idea is that the game takes place in the world where we dream. And when you're playing the game, you're playing this person that lives in the dreaming, and but it looks just like the real world. So you can create these game spaces where people will, you know, it would take me like an hour to explain it. So I don't know if I want to go into it. But anyway, so part of playing the game involved posting photos and blog entries and stories about what your experiences in the game were. That was the way that you got points for it. And the intent of that was to sort of wrap it all together into this magazine that explains the game's arc. And setting and stuff like that. And so everybody that played, and it was a really cool experiment because I thought like maybe I'd get like 10 or 15 people in this region to play, and then it took off on the net like really big, and I found that there was like groups of people in Ohio playing, and like there were 4 or 5 different sects of people playing the Dreaming in different parts of the country, and just it really grew out of control. Like at one point, like part of the game is about like you find a place where you think it would be cool to play this game, and you could do this. These series of actions that make it yours, this like ceremony that lets you claim that territory. And we had this group of LARPers that showed up at this park in Ohio, and they decided there's like this castle there, and they wanted to make that their like home base for the game. And when they showed up, they found other LARPers were already playing the Dreaming and had set up base in that castle. So like total strangers, this is like 2 different LARP communities that had found this game independently, bumped into each other in this park, and we're like, oh, this is my castle, no, it's my castle, and now it's on, and like, that's amazing. Like I woke up one morning and went on the net, and I found that people were killing themselves, like killing each other, in this imaginary world, for imaginary territory, like, in a world I made up that I've never actually like been to. I've never been to that part of Ohio, but it was like a really hotly contested area. So all that's documented in this magazine somewhere, I think. Also on the net. What else? And then we've got a big stack of Intermittents that Chica is guarding. Yeah, give me that. Okay. Intermittents magazine is meant to be. I came up with this idea of like an open source magazine, like a magazine that anybody can edit. Like it started off with there were 10 or 12 like essays and little short things that Discordians on the net had written, and I thought like I wanted more people to read them. So I took like 2 or 3 hours and I threw them together into a magazine format. And I've never made a magazine before. I just wondered, how hard could it be? And so I made like a really, really crappy magazine. And then, and then just through the Discordian magic of being a creative, collaborative community, Eris, KSC, picked up my files and said, I could probably lay that out a little bit better. And he took a couple days and he made a copy. And so we ended up with like kind of a nice looking magazine. And the spirit of it is that anybody can edit an Intermittents. If you want to make your own issue of Intermittents, just take stuff that you think is cool and edit it together and put it on the net and we'll read it, So there hasn't been a new Intermittents in a couple of years. I think there's like maybe like 12 issues of it. Another good Google. So this one's called the Bathroom Reader Edition. This is the second issue that I made. This is it has a lot of just really crude, vulgar jokes in it. It's meant to be sitting next to your toilet, so you just have you're going to be reading it for about 45 seconds, and there's a lot of like anti-humor. Going to the bathroom is a voluntary behavior. That means you can quit it, right? In spring of 2004, I learned the answer. It's a true story. I decided, pooping's voluntary, so I give up. I'm just not going to do it anymore. Like, you can choose not to, right?
How'd that work out for you?
I lasted 3 or 4 days, and then the experiment ended. Turns out, it's not as voluntary as you might think. Intermittents magazine. There's another one. So yeah, there's like 12 of these things, and I think a lot of them are in my bathroom. And then the Book of the Subgenius, another book of some sorts. To be honest, I've never made it all the way through this book. I just kind of open it up and read it randomly sometimes. I don't know. I don't have much to say about the Subgenia.
Yeah. No.
All right.
Discordian Library of Professor Cramulus.
Yeah, there's some of it.